right, hello and welcome. Today, this is John Golden from SalesPOP Online Sales Magazine, and today I'm joined by Eve Mayer, who is a social media expert, and we're gonna talk a lot about how social media has evolved and changed. But just give you a quick rundown on who Eve is. If you don't know already, I suggest you check her out. She's recognized by Forbes as the 5th most influential woman in social media. CNN have named her as one of the 8 women to follow on Twitter. Inc. magazine said he's one of the 21 social media marketers to follow on Twitter. So basically, Eve has a tremendous amount of expertise. She's an author, a speaker, a consultant. She's spoken around the world. She's been featured on Forbes, CNN, American Express Open Forum. She's done TEDx talks. She's even been to the White House. I mean, there's pretty much nothing that Eve hasn't done.
And look at my giant headphones too, right? Like,
yeah,
that should be really impressive to people.
And yeah, exactly. And she is the owner of a giant pair of headphones.
Yes, thank you. That is what most people know me for: huge hair and giant headphones.
Excellent.
How's it going, John?
Good. So again, as I said, this is John Golden talking to Eve, and what I really wanted to discuss today was social media for sales and marketing. It's going through some transitions, because when social media first came on stream, it's like, everybody get on LinkedIn and get your profile, then get on Twitter, get your brand out, bombard. How have things evolved now? Have we become more sophisticated, or have some of the platforms proven themselves to be better than others, or is it very kind of industry or segment specific?
I don't. A lot has changed, and at the same time, some things have not changed. And since the beginning, when I started doing this 8 or 9 years ago, from the beginning, you have to start with what you're trying to accomplish. And so, if you're trying to reach teenagers, you can spend all day on LinkedIn, and it's not going to go too well, right? Sure. You better be on Snapchat. Yeah. So, I think, hopefully most companies and most organizations now have figured out that they don't need to be on every social media platform, or if they are, that some of them are just not going to yield very exciting results for them, and maybe they should have a specific use. We still see a lot of companies using every social media. We still see a lot of companies really frustrated about the fact that they can't accurately measure the success of social media. And usually the people who are in charge of the social media reputation of the organization don't actually know what the business goals of the company are. So I really continue to hope for the people who are social media professionals to be treated with more respect from their superiors, and those superiors to share the business goals with them. Right. Because very few business goals are going to be accomplished just through sheer will of having more followers on Facebook, right? It's probably not going to go so well for that. So we really have to enter things with specific business goals when we're engaging with social media. We have to understand the limitations around measuring these things, because yes, we can track things back to websites and use Google Analytics or whatever you're using. But sometimes there are times when people are using social media as consumers as validation for a product or service, and not for the exact place that they're going to make the purchase. They want to see if what the company is saying is true about the brand, and so they use social media as a way of determining that.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing to pick up on what you just said about really empowering with business goals. Do you think that some organizations are still kind of in that trap where they say, "Oh, social media, I better find a millennial and just kind of outsource it to them, and they can just go off and do their whatever they do, their Twitter, snappy, chatty, Instagrammy stuff," and as you say, they don't take it seriously as a channel, more of a sort of thing, we have to do it because everybody else is doing it?
Yeah, I definitely think so. It's really interesting you bring up millennials, and you didn't know this, but I'm actually writing a book right now called Lead Millennials, Don't Manage Them. And so my company, Social Media Delivered, has traditionally been mostly millennials. Right. And then there's been other people at the company as well, the old people like myself and some of the executives who will beat me up after saying that. But
we're all old now.
And 43 years old, so I'm a Gen Xer. But here's my opinion on that. Social media is really important. You take an invitation to be on television as really important, and you would put a PR person or anyone well versed in speaking about your company, and you put only responsible people on the phone to represent your company. And it's the same thing with social media. It has the opportunity to crush a brand or build a brand within minutes. And so I think it deserves the same respect that traditional media or other types of media can get. As far as it goes with millennials, I employ a lot of millennials. I believe in millennials. I am writing a book on how I get really frustrated with the things that people say about millennials, because I do not find them lazy or self-absorbed. I find them loyal, and I find them hardworking. I just find they have a different set of expectations from their leaders. And if you are transparent with millennials and you treat them fairly, like adults, which they are, then I think you'll get a much different result. So when it comes to passing your social media on to a millennial or someone who is a baby boomer, I really don't care. It doesn't matter the age. It matters the ability of the person to represent the company on those platforms. So if someone is really great at social media and they're a millennial, but they don't know anything about your company, and you wouldn't trust them on the phone about your company, well, then no, don't use them. It's just stupid. And same thing if they were a Gen Xer or a baby boomer. If they don't have the company image down, then you can't do it. Just knowing the social media side of it is not enough.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, because I love that point about you wouldn't just sort of turn around and say, write this press release, or you know, or as you say, CNN just called up. Whereas you just go talk to them.
Totally.
But some people would do that with social media. How about from the work you've done? How about salespeople? Do you think salespeople are getting a better handle on how to use social media for credentialing and branding? Because we still find a lot of, when people talk about, you need a personal brand, they think about, okay, I just need to just share stuff related to my product or my industry or whatever, just so I'm out there, without putting a lot of kind of thought into how coherent that brand is coming across.
Right. So the same thing kind of goes with salespeople. I do think that more salespeople are getting more savvy about social media, because they have to. When you're a salesperson, I've been a salesperson for a long time, and I still am. I own a company, right? So as a salesperson, you have to reach out to your targets in the way they want to be contacted. Right. Some people hate social media, which means you got to be great in person. Some people only want to be spoken to on the phone, and some people will only respond to you on social media, or some people will only respond on email. And that means you have to be adept at each one of those things. A lot of salespeople make the mistake of expecting whatever the tool they are most comfortable with to be the one that will be the most successful for them. It's not how it is. I used to hate computers back a long time ago. And I used to think social media was, why would I care about that? But once I learned that it could apply to sales and to marketing and make money, then I cared a whole bunch about it, right? So I think that salespeople are becoming more savvy. There are some that, as you say, put out information that is really personal or really inappropriate. And so what I would urge salespeople to do is, the next time you put on a social post and you're about to hit publish, I want you to pretend like you're calling your favorite client and saying the same thing to them over the phone. Right. So if you say that out loud and you sound like a jerk, then you're probably a jerk, and maybe you should delete that.
Yeah, I think that's great advice, because everything has become too easy, right? It's become too easy just to, you're sitting in the airport and somebody's just really annoyed you, and it's very easy just to go boom, boom, boom and tweet out something or whatever. And just because you can doesn't mean you should. And as you said, I think that's a great piece of advice, is like, think of your favorite and your top client and say, if I just call them up right now and said this, would that be a good thing? I really like that piece of advice.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, what about the future? Where do you see? Is there anything on the horizon that you see is going to evolve or change about social media, or are there any changes underfoot right now? Did you have your crystal ball handy?
There will always be changes in social media, and they happen so ridiculously fast. It's pretty hard to keep up with. But the one thing that we always expect to happen, I think we've seen a lot this year, and that is the homogenization of social media, where each platform becomes more and more the same. And we've seen that with Snapchat stories, Instagram stories,
Sure.
Facebook filters, having the same features across the board. When a feature is popular, it's typically going to be tried out or see if it will work on another social media platform. What's on the horizon, I think we'll continue to see interesting things from Snapchat as to what they're doing in advertising and what they're putting out in the environment besides just on people. And, if you're marketing to young people, I think you really can't ignore Snapchat anymore. I think it would be a mistake to do so.
Yeah. And then what about from a business point of view? Are there any things that you think that businesses, from a B2B businesses, should be looking at?
Well, B2B, the place has always been LinkedIn. The place is still LinkedIn. The problem, in my opinion, is now that there are tools like Sales Navigator, I think that executives think when they buy Sales Navigator for their salespeople, that's enough. I don't think it's enough. And I also don't think you always need Sales Navigator, depending on what's going on and what kind of prospecting the company does. What you need is to work on the LinkedIn profiles of your salespeople and executives because of the people they're connected with and how they represent the company, as well as your recruiters. And those salespeople especially really need in-depth training on how to use LinkedIn for prospecting. And I think that's always been something that has not been really treated with enough respect.
Yeah, and I guess, it doesn't help that LinkedIn keep changing. They keep changing how the platform works a little bit, what's available on what. That I don't think that
all of them keep changing. They're trying to always make it better and grow and expand, but it's kind of a pain in the butt. I do get that, but at the same time,
I know.
Probably in the last 2 days, 100 more people that we could sell to are actually on LinkedIn. So
for sure,
we got to remember those things as well.
Yeah, and I guess then on top of that, kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier. It means being a little bit more sophisticated in how you use it. Training salespeople, teaching them how to use it properly. Because you're probably the same. I get spammed a lot on LinkedIn, or I get people who reach out to connect and they seem all genuine and it's a nice, elegant reach out. But the minute I hit connect, suddenly they're bombarding me, trying to sell me stuff immediately without even, sometimes, I work, pipeline or CRM, and I get people who connect and then they try to sell me a CRM and I'm like, what?
Yeah. What? I do enjoy when people sell me like millennial coaching and social media. I enjoy that a lot.
Yeah, exactly. So tell us a little bit about the kind of work you do today.
So I have a company called Social Media Delivered, and we do content, strategy, and outsourced services for all types of company in social media. And then I also speak on social media, women empowerment, managing millennials. I've been speaking a lot lately on core values and company culture. And so those are things I'm really passionate about, and I'm excited that my next book will be on that. And I found that a lot of companies have a great need for help on their company culture and their core values.
Yeah. Well, just in the last couple of moments, just give me a little bit of an insight into that. What the work on core values and obviously that translates over to how you project and communicate to the outside world as well as internally. So what are some of the really interesting things that you've discovered with your work with some companies around that?
I'd say the most interesting thing is most employees think their company's core values suck really bad. And so that's pretty interesting. Or they don't know what the core values are, or if they do know what they are, they think they're full of crap. So I think that's the first thing that needs to be recognized. I recently wrote an article on Huffington Post called Your Core Values Suck and Everyone Knows It. And so I firmly believe that. I think a lot of times the core values are developed by the top executives without any feedback or buy-in from the rest of the organization. I think that's a huge mistake. I think we need to involve people in the lifestyle and the environment at a workplace that we're trying to build if we would like them to believe it. I think that the core values are not graphically represented in a lot of organizations. And when they are, sometimes it's done in a very stodgy way. Here, you want to see mine?
Yeah.
I'll show you. I'll make this, let's see if I can flip this around. See what a pro I am here. All right. So I'll show you here. Here's our core values here. Here's an example of good core values, right? Because they're mine. So of course I think they're good. But here is no cats allowed. And that means no cattiness. It's about teamwork,
Gotcha.
hyper transparency, and building each other up, not tearing each other down.
Mm-hmm.
I also don't like cats, but that's a whole other story. All right, now here we have It's Up to Me. This is about taking initiative for your own position, your own job, and your own career in life. And this is a guy with sunglasses on and a pie in the face. So this is about making life funner. You spend a lot of time with the people you work with, and if it's not fun, you don't want to be there. So you have to take the opportunity to make each other laugh. This is my favorite. This is a 3-legged unicorn, which represents wonderfully imperfect. And this is our promise to our clients and to each other that we will mess up and we will apologize, admit it, and then not make that particular mistake again. We'll make other mistakes, but not that one.
No, I love it. That's fantastic. I love that idea of having that that visually represented there. Yeah, because being older myself and being at a lot of companies and an executive, the thing that used to always drive me mad is the strategic planning meetings or whatever, where there would be this endless debate about what's our mission statement, and then what's our vision statement, and I'd be like, mission, vision, what I don't even, nobody can even tell me the difference between the two, really.
Right.
And at the end of the day, it comes out as some stodgy, 2-paragraph statement that is put at the front of the strategic plan and forgotten about. So I love the idea of like really bringing those things alive.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, why don't you let the viewers, listeners know how they can contact you?
Yeah, you can check me out at evemayer.com. That's Mayer. And you can check out my books, The Social Media Business Equation, on Amazon or on my website. And also I wrote a book on online dating called Get It Girl Guide. So you can check that out too. Excellent.
Yeah. And your new book is coming out when?
I don't know. Let's say early next year, probably.
Okay. Well, fantastic. Listen, it's been great talking to you today, Eve. Thanks for making time, and thanks for sharing all those insights. I particularly love your visual value wall there. It's fantastic.
Thank you. I appreciate it.